Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the LTT Podcast. My name is Brendan Plays. It's another Thursday, which means it's time to chat about whatever's on my mind once again. This week on the show, we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble. We're going to spend quite a lot of time discussing the Royal Rumble because I think this Royal Rumble could be great. You know, this week I want to kind of reminisce a little bit, talk about some of my favorite Royal Rumble moments, some of my favorite Royal Rumble matches, and what I think needs to happen to make a good Royal Rumble. What are the keys? What are some of the things you need to do to make the Royal Rumble as great as it possibly can be? And I'm going to kind of give a few suggestions of what I think could happen in this year's Royal Rumble and what to expect, and some of the things that I would like to see. So we're going to spend a good chunk of our time just talking about the Royal Rumble and the Royal Rumble match specifically. This week we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble match. Next week we might get into all the other matches on the card and give a brief rundown about all the matches and where I think each match will go and my predictions and whatnot. But this week we'll spend our time on the Royal Rumble match itself, because I don't think we're going to really see too much unravel between now and the Royal Rumble in terms of participants being announced for it or anything like that. I think the winner is now probably set in stone, and I think we can pretty much start to predict where this thing is going to go. So we're going to spend a good time on that this week. As well as that, Kurt Angle, he's in the Hall of Fame. I'm so happy about that. Talk about Kurt Angle later on. And I'm also going to talk about Raw versus SmackDown. Now, on my forums, here's the cheap plug, brendanplays.com/forums. It's free to join. On the forums, we had a little bit of a brief discussion saying, what can we do to make Raw better? Why is Raw not as good as SmackDown? And I'm going to bring that discussion here to the podcast this week. We've kind of talked about it quite a lot on the show, some of the things that I think Raw needs to do, but we'll kind of just give a bit of an overview of it right now and where my thoughts are. What are we now? Nearly 6 months into the brand split, so I'll kind of just give my thoughts on some of the things that I have identified that I think Raw is doing well, and the things that Raw are not doing well, and we'll kind of compare the pair with SmackDown, and we'll see which brand really is doing better, which brand are kind of nailing the fundamentals of what makes a good show. We'll see which brand is on top. And I know you're probably already thinking, well, SmackDown's better, I like SmackDown, which I'm not disagreeing with you. I think SmackDown is a better show, but SmackDown does do a lot of the things that Raw does as well, and that's some of the things we need to kind of discuss. How good is SmackDown? Is SmackDown making mistakes? We're going to talk about that in today's show. And plenty of little things as well. We'll chat about Raw and SmackDown this week as well. And plenty of little news and tidbits that have gone on this week. But what is relatively a pretty quiet week in terms of wrestling. There's a few, obviously, big things, but in terms of Raw and SmackDown, not a hell of a lot going on there. A couple of things, like I said, but we'll spend most of our time chatting about the Royal Rumble. I was going to start the show off with the Royal Rumble, but we might get into what's in the news this week before we get into the Rumble chat. So first up, Kurt Angle in the Hall of Fame. Wow, I didn't expect it to happen this year. I woke up, I looked at my phone, and the first thing that popped up my phone is Kurt Angle officially announced in the Hall of Fame, and I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I could not believe it. So this is awesome. This is fantastic. Kurt Angle, one of the best wrestlers of all time, and I made it a bit of a point in the last few days to go back and watch some great Kurt Angle matches. And if you haven't had a chance to see too much of Kurt Angle, here are some of the matches I definitely recommend you must see, you have to see. First up, I think perhaps his greatest match, and it's no real surprise, and I'm talking WWE matches, I'm not going to include TNA stuff, but I should go back and watch some TNA matches. He's had some classics there, I know, and I haven't seen most of them, so I should definitely go and watch them. I might try and do that after this show. But straight away off the bat, his best WWE match, in my opinion, is Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. What a match this was. I watched this one yesterday, and the whole time I'm gobsmacked. I'm got a big smile on my face, and I'm yelling out, tap, 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 and I'm wanting Shawn Michaels to tap. I'm getting into the match, and the match was 10 years ago. That's how crazy, how good this match was, and how good both those guys were. Shawn Michaels is one of the best of all time as well, and, you put him against Kurt Angle, two of the absolute best. It's magic, and it was just absolute magic. And I've seen their Vengeance match a number of times as well. It's pretty damn good as well. So two terrific matches. Did they have any more matches after that? I'm not aware. I don't know. They may have, but I'm not 100% sure. I kind of just started getting into wrestling when when they were against each other, just after they just finished their rivalry. My first ever wrestling DVD that I had, the first ever wrestling pay-per-view that I watched was Vengeance 2005. That's why I kind of remember the Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle thing, but I never actually watched the WrestleMania 21 match for quite some time. So I always thought, Vengeance was such a great match, and then you go to WrestleMania 21, it just blows it out of the park. It's absolutely incredible, especially the ending of the match, just fantastic. Great. That's a match where a story has been told to perfection in the ring, and that's something that I think we miss quite a lot in wrestling right now is stories. Storytelling in the ring. You watch that match, and it just personifies storytelling, and that is true art. So definitely check that one out. The other one I saw as well was Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold at SummerSlam 2001. So this is more in the early days of Kurt Angle, and it was during the Invasion, WCW versus, the Alliance versus WWF. So Austin was with the Alliance, Angle was with the WWF, and just the emotion that Kurt Angle put into that match, every little detail, was terrific. Just the emotion that both men and like the passion that they told through that match and how badly they both wanted to win. The story as well was fantastic, and at the end when Kurt Angle, spoiler, 15-year-old match, spoiler, when Kurt Angle loses because he got screwed by the referee, he's chanting, "Oh, this is bullshit, I can't believe this, you screwed me," and he hits the referee. That just kind of summed it all up right there. And I think a lot of wrestlers wouldn't be able to really, it sounds so simple, but a lot of wrestlers just wouldn't be able to convey that or put that emotion and be able to act that passion. But Kurt Angle did, and it just kind of sold the moment perfectly. So that's a terrific match. And another one that I watched as well was Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker. This is one of the matches I actually did see because I just started becoming a fan late 2005, so I was quite well aware of this matchup. Didn't see it live, but I did watch it eventually, probably a year later. But I was well aware of what was going on. So going back and watching it again, I kind of knew some of the backstory and knew what was going on. And it's still a terrific match to this day. Undertaker and Kurt Angle, are we surprised that they put on a good match? I'm definitely not. That's another one I would check out. So those are three of my favorite Kurt Angle matches in the WWE. Let me know in the comments your favorite Kurt Angle matches. Do you agree? I mean, there's plenty more. I mean, Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit, the Royal Rumble. There's plenty more. So that's just a few I will name. And probably the three that I watched yesterday. That's what I'm naming. So there's plenty more. And it's Kurt Angle. Had a hell of a lot of matches. Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar as well. At WrestleMania was absolutely awesome. So let me know some of your favorites from Kurt Angle. Just let me know if there are some TNA matches I need to check out, because I haven't seen too many. I've seen the Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. That was absolutely terrific as well. I need to see a few more. But yes, Kurt Angle officially in the Hall of Fame. The next question is, who's going to induct him? Kurt Angle came out in an interview and said he would like Stone Cold to induct him, and I think that was my first pick. When I'm thinking of Kurt Angle, who do I think should induct him? And I think Stone Cold and Kurt Angle had such a great rivalry there, and like we just said, that SummerSlam match, all the skits that they did with, we saw a Milkamania on Raw and that little video package. That was some of the things, One of my favorite Kurt Angle moments was, I watched this on YouTube, but when Kurt Angle would and Steve Austin would both be trying to fight for Vince McMahon's love, just doing all this outrageous stuff to try and get Vince McMahon's appreciation, trying to hug him and, playing songs and just doing everything they possibly can to impress Vince McMahon. That was fantastic. And obviously, all the great matches that Austin and Kurt Angle had is fantastic. Another one that I would say would make sense, but I don't think he would do it, and I don't think would be a good option anyways, would be Brock Lesnar. And obviously these two guys had so much respect for each other. Kurt Angle apparently in a shoot match
beat Brock Lesnar in a wrestling match. So that was, where that respect factor came in. Obviously, had a great WrestleMania matchup. Lots of great backstage skits as well with those training skits. So plenty to like there, and there's plenty of connection, and I think there's plenty of respect. But perhaps Brock Lesnar wouldn't deliver a great speech, and probably wouldn't be one who'd want to do that type of thing anyways. So I think Lesnar will be there at the Hall of Fame. I think he'll come for Kurt Angle. I mean, I don't know how many people he would come for. I mean, he probably is there all the time, but we just don't see him. But yeah, he'll be there. And I definitely think he could be a candidate, but I just feel like he probably would be a great talker for it. And the other guy I was probably thinking of would be John Cena. And obviously they had a number of matches themselves, and obviously Kurt Angle was John Cena's first opponent in the WWE, and that was a terrific match and a memorable moment. So yeah, I definitely think Cena would obviously deliver a fantastic speech, and there's plenty of on-air correlation between the two to warrant it. But I think at this point, Austin would have to be my number one pick, and I think Austin would probably do it. You have to kind of think of who would actually go ahead and actually, do it and do a good job of it. I think Steve Austin would be one to do it and would make so much sense, and I think would be a terrific pick. And I know those two guys are legitimate friends, and I think that would be fantastic. So definitely Kurt Angle deserves to go on the Hall of Fame. It's, given. I mean, short run in the WWE, look, only, a 6-7 year run. Not a long time, but geez, he made a big impact quickly. Rose to the top in a year. He was fighting for the WWF title in a year. Main eventing against The Rock, Austin, Triple H. He was main eventing at a time where WWE or WWF was at its absolute peak. All the biggest names that the business has seen, Kurt Angle was right there with them, beating them, holding the title, and was just as good as any of them. So major respect to Kurt Angle. Would have loved to have seen him back in the WWE at some point. I think he probably stayed in TNA probably a couple years too many. I think he should have came back if he had a chance to come back. Maybe 2012, 2013, when he was just a little younger and he still had another run left in him. But he decided to hang around TNA a little longer, which is disappointing for me as a fan, because I'm not a fan of TNA anymore, and I haven't been a regular watcher of TNA since 2012. So to see Kurt Angle hanging around in there, I would have loved to see him back in WWE and see him compete against the likes of CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, even more John Cena matches would have been fine. I would have loved to see him and Rusev, for example. That would have been a great little rivalry for Kurt Angle. So number of guys I would have loved to see Kurt Angle have a match with. I mean, Seth Rollins right now would be fantastic as well, for example. And, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. There's plenty of guys Kurt Angle could tear it up with. But he's up there in age now. Will he come back for a match? I think it'll depend on the reaction. He still physically can do it. He's still wrestling right now. He's having matches against Cody Rhodes and whatever. He's having matches, so he still physically can do it. It's just a matter of whether WWE will let him. So that would probably, in my mind, rule out a Royal Rumble entrant, and we'll talk about that later when we talk about the Rumble. So I don't think he'll probably be there. I would love it. I was thinking about it maybe a couple months ago, and I was just thinking about, man, Kurt Angle showing up unannounced in the Royal Rumble, 60,000 people. It would just blow the building up, wouldn't it? Just the crowd would just go nuts. But yeah, if he went in there, would it be as big of a moment? I still think it'd be huge. He's back. He's in the Rumble. That's huge. But definitely the luster would have we would half expect that he might show up. So if he does, would it be as big? I don't know. Maybe not. It wouldn't be such a surprise, but it'd still be awesome. I think we all kind of knew, for example, when Sting was going to show up a couple of years ago, I think we all kind of knew that he might, but when he did, it was still huge. Lesnar the same. When he returned for the first time after 10 years, we all kind of knew that he was coming back, but it was still huge. They probably should have done a surprise with Goldberg, in my opinion. The fact that they announced it was kind of lame, but the WWE now, they need ratings. They need ratings badly, and this is the way to do it. They got to pre-announce this stuff. But in my opinion, what's the harm in doing a surprise, and then the next week you capitalize on that rating? Everyone's like, oh shit, Kurt Angle's back. Oh, I like Kurt Angle. Let me check it out. Goldberg's back. Oh, that's cool. Let me check it out. They'll check it out next week. I guess, do they capitalize? Do they get as much out of it? Maybe not. But still, as a regular viewer, those are the moments that you enjoy the most. Those are the moments that you remember as a fan. And those are the moments that, make you want to keep watching. That keep you on the edge of your seat. Oh, what's going to happen tonight? Is so-and-so going to come out? You never know. Those are the surprise moments that you need as a fan to, keep the enjoyment. And it's disappointing that they don't do that anymore. And I get why they don't. They want to try and get better ratings, try and sell more tickets. But it's still, the quality of the show needs to be priority, in my opinion. And sometimes you might have to sacrifice a bit of business to enhance the quality of the show, because long term, if you increase the quality of your show by doing these things, more people are going to watch anyways. If you pre-announce it, a lot of people might check out Raw for 1 week and they don't care the next week. But if you're watching and like, oh wow, this happened, this is awesome, and a couple months later, this is happening, all these different things are happening. As a fan, you're going to want to keep watching. And that's just my opinion. I mean, if Kurt Angle, showed up 2 weeks ago, unannounced, and said, hey, I'm going to be in the Rumble, I mean, that would have been fantastic to see him come up, show up. But, would it be as special when he, comes to the Rumble? Maybe not. But, I just think the surprises need to be coming back in wrestling. Anyways, I digress. Back to Kurt Angle. I think at this point in time, Austin's my pick to induct him. A couple little other things as well. Well, this is not a little thing, but Jimmy Snuka, unfortunately, has passed away, and, a lot of controversy about that, and I don't have a lot of knowledge in what went down, the supposed murder of his girlfriend back years and years ago. A lot of people disappointed that the WWE is showing vignettes or celebrating the life of a quote-unquote murderer. A lot of people wanted him out of the Hall of Fame. Jimmy Snuka, he's either, you're 50-50 on it. You're either really for him or you're not, or I don't really care, but, you either say, oh, it's okay, he's innocent until proven guilty, or otherwise, or you're like, wow, man, this guy, he killed someone, he needs to get the Chris Benoit treatment. It's really no in between. I mean, for me personally, if he did do it, then that's terrible, and I definitely think, he probably should be not erased. I don't like how they erase history. They say, oh, Chris Benoit never won the Royal Rumble. That's BS. We all know that's BS, whatever. He did what he did, but don't try and erase it. I mean, don't celebrate it, don't acknowledge it, but don't try and erase it. I mean, Hulk Hogan, saying, being racist, and all of a sudden they're trying to get rid of the biggest icon in wrestling history. They're trying to erase him from history. I mean, come on, you just can't do that. So, if Snuka was to be proven, and he was on trial, he was about to be, they were suspended the trial because of his health, I believe. So, we won't quite know. I don't think they will. I think they'll just drop the charges, right, and then just leave it at that, or will they go any further and try and find out if he did do it or not? I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, he was obviously a major star back in the day, never won the WWE World title. Some say that he didn't win it because of what, obviously a lot of people think Vince McMahon was, a big reason why he got away with it. He covered it up and helped him get away with it. So, Vince McMahon wasn't, highlighting him as much as perhaps he could have. But, he was there at a time where obviously Hogan was, kicking up and, and many more. But Snuka was very over with the fans and definitely deserves to be a Hall of Famer. Had a Hall of Fame career, won championships, a part of many big matches. So Snuka had a terrific career. It's a shame that he's passed away, and I'm going to be one of those people that say innocent until proven guilty. If he gets, 6 months' time, they say, hey, he did it, then I will be all aboard on the shitting on Jimmy Snuka train. But at this point in time, you just can't, you can speculate, unless you're really adamant that he did it. If you got clear-cut evidence you did it, then that's fine. But for me, I couldn't really care less either way. I mean, if he did it, then that's terrible, and I definitely, think he should be shunned. But if he didn't do it, then I think we should respect the guy and appreciate what he's done for wrestling. So I don't know if we'll ever find out if he did or not. Hopefully they do figure it out, because I think it'd be good, I think, for a lot of fans and for his family to kind of, and just to end this, end this saga, end this, drama. Did he do it? Did he not? Let's figure it out, and we'll go from there. But it's sad to see him go, but he was going to go at any time. He was due to go in the next 6 months or so. He's been in pretty bad health for a while, so this is not really coming as much as a surprise. A couple other things that happened this week. Tajiri and Darren Young both getting injured. So Tajiri just comes back, and he's injured, so that's disappointing. That kind of sucks. We didn't even see him on Raw, did we? We saw him on 205. Did we even see him on Raw? I don't think so. Maybe I missed it, but I don't think we did. But, that's very disappointing, and I'm sure WWE are not happy about that. But this is what happens when you bring back a guy who's in his mid-40s, who hasn't been wrestling probably as much as he has, as he's been doing right now. He's not used to the schedule. His body's not used to it. So when you have him competing in a lot more regular and, doing probably tougher matches and working, against younger guys trying to keep up, he's going to get injured, So it's disappointing for him. I don't know the length of his injury. Hopefully he's back soon. It just reminds me of Shelton Benjamin, doesn't it? Shelton Benjamin about to come back, and then, he's injured. So that's disappointing. But I think he would have added plenty to the cruiserweight division. I think it was a good call bringing him back. You can't help injuries. That's, you can't foresee that. Otherwise, I'm sure they would not have brought him back in. But hopefully he gets healthy soon. Hopefully he's back soon. And Darren Young, well, he's injured. I mean, I think he did his shoulder or something, or elbow, or dislocated something. I don't know. I forget. But he's going to be out for a few months. I would keep him off TV for even longer and repackage him or release him. I think when this year's releases come along, when that May, June, July period, when they generally release people, I wouldn't be surprised if Darren Young, Titus O'Neil, those types of guys, Jack Swagger, they get released, because I think the WWE has done absolutely everything they can to try and get these guys over. It hasn't worked, and it has to be a point where you say enough is enough. You got to cut your losses and give someone else that spot. Give a new guy that spot. And look at the guys in NXT that have been there for years, like a Ty Dillinger, getting over quite well with the fans, but he can't get a start in the main roster because Titus O'Neil needs his 10 minutes. And I've been a Titus O'Neil fan, but when you get an opportunity and you just drop the ball so much, I just can't continue to support you. Had a huge chance, was given plenty of TV time, but his in-ring work is just piss poor. It's not good enough. And I'm not even saying he needs to be, a Sami Zayn in the ring. But geez, he needs to just be decent. And he's not even that. He's just very below par. He's quite awful, really. And every time he talks on the mic, I feel like he's going to botch and say something, stutter or mess up. And I mean, we all mess up. I mess up all the time. But, when he's doing a scripted promo, at least, Jesus Christ, can you just get half of it right? I mean, that's half the battle. So, yeah, there's a couple of guys that I think definitely could be going and being released this year. And Titus is up there in age, too. He's like 37. So, I think his expiry date was maybe a year ago now. And it's not looking good. The more he's hanging around, the worse it's looking. So, we might need to get him out of there. And Darren Young, probably the same. Horrible, horrible gimmick. They make Darren Young great again gimmick was just dreadful. Execution terrible. The guy playing that character terrible. Everything about it awful. I can't say one redeeming quality about it. So they put a lot of time into that. They gave him a lot of airtime, and that just was awful. So for me, if I'm WWE, I'm saying, look, this guy just, we've given him chance after chance for 3-4 years now. This was his biggest singles chance, and he just failed miserably. Why keep him around? I don't see why. So that's a couple of my opinions. So there's a few guys I think could be going. We'll talk about the Randy Orton incident in a second, but first I want to touch on Michael Cole's future. Little rumblings going around that Michael Cole, he might be looking to go into more of a backstage role as a producer or whatever, rather than a commentator role. My opinion on this, I feel like Michael Cole is still good. I watched him do the UK Championship tournament, and I watched probably a couple hours of it. I didn't watch every match. I probably watched half the matches. I watched majority of the first episode, and then I just watched the final on the second one. And I thought Michael Cole did a really good job there. I think in some circumstances, Michael Cole can really deliver. When he's not so heavily produced, and like when he's not getting yelled at in his ear constantly, I think Michael Cole does a pretty good job. And I thought he was a lot better there at the UK tournament with Nigel McGuinness. So I think he definitely can do well. But when he's on Raw, I don't know what it is, but is he trying to like hit all these different points? He's trying to get this promotion in, plug this in, say this, say that, get these lines in. And there are all these different things that he has to cover that, these topics that they want him to talk about. Is it just detaining too far away from good commentary? Is he just not natural? Is he just trying to get all these things in? He just can't do his best work. I think it could be the case. Maybe are they trying to, do too much? I mean, you try and be passionate for 3 hours about Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, a match you saw, the last 6 weeks in a row. It can be hard. I don't blame him. So I definitely think he's still pretty good. And, you watch him back in, like, the SmackDown era, like, with Taz. I really enjoyed that combination. I thought Cole and Taz I think that was Michael Cole's best, to be honest. I think Byron Saxton still sucks. I think Corey Graves is pretty good. So, I think the two-man booth might be the way to go. And I think WWE feel like more. They need more guys, not less. I mean, look on SmackDown. They got 4 guys in there. It just looks awkward. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. 4 guys on the booth? I mean, what the hell does Tom Phillips do? He doesn't say anything. Shouldn't that be Mauro Ranallo's job? He's the lead commentator, so he hits these plugs, he hits these promotions, he chats about, the upcoming pay-per-view, these things, not Tom Phillips. So I don't see what the point is. Is Mauro just there to call the match and Tom Phillips is there to talk about the rest of the shit? Maybe. But it's just completely unnecessary. I think the two-man booth, in all my time watching wrestling, the best commentating period has always been 2 guys. Like I said, when I really was a big fan of SmackDown, Cole and Taz. And, when I really enjoyed Raw the most, it was Jerry the King Lawler and JR. And go back further, JR and Paul Heyman, for example. So it's been a big time throughout wrestling where 2 men was the go. Like, that was what they wanted. That was what worked best. And I don't know why they've gone to 3 men. And it's not just in wrestling. It's a lot of sport as well. I'm a huge cricket fan. And for a number of years there, they decided 3 men commentating at once was the key. 1 lead commentator and 2 color commentators. Quite similar to what we get now in wrestling. And it was good, but it just felt like 2 men always felt right. It just flowed better. You're not talking over each other. It just, the conversation's better, and they call the action better. And they recently, here in Australia, they recently went back to 2 men for this summer's worth of games, and I felt it was better. I just felt like it was a lot better. The commentary was a lot better. So they did like probably a 3 or 4 year period where they went to 3 men, and now they've scaled back. So there's obviously some kind of indication there that they've realized 2 is better. So maybe WWE needs to do that change. Maybe Corey Graves and Michael Cole together might be the key, might be where they can strike some gold. Because Byron Saxton, he sucks. He adds nothing. He's just this goofy, shitty babyface commentator. He gets excited over everything a babyface does and whinges and complains about everything a heel does. Yeah, sure, why? That's great. But do we need that? We don't really need that. Michael Cole can be the voice of reason, and Corey Graves can, shit on everything, and Cole can, disagree and just continue calling the match. Corey Graves can give his opinion and whatever and move on. So I really don't think they need 3. And for SmackDown, I would drop David Otunga and I would just have JBL and Mauro Ranallo. And I think JBL, personally, his commentary for the last year on SmackDown and on Raw before that, I think has been quite poor. Probably a few years ago, he was pretty good. And, back in the SmackDown days, I really enjoyed him as well. But I definitely think his last couple years, he just has been very poor. And especially recently, very, very poor. So is that an issue that he's trying to hit all these different key points and keynotes, but he just can't, he's not as his usual self? I don't know. But I think at the moment, 2 men, I think, is the key. If they want to fix their commentary, I think going back to 2 is what they need to do. And I just don't know this obsession with 3. I just feel like 3 just isn't working. And SmackDown goes to 4, so go be it. But anyways, I'm just saying Michael Cole, I definitely could see him transition slowly out of it. Maybe he just goes back to doing Raw only, and maybe Mauro Ranallo takes over the pay-per-views and Raw, just has Cole. Maybe Michael Cole does the switch over, goes to SmackDown, just does the 2 hours. Very possible, but I look at this point in time, Cole has been around for 20 years, been commentating for like 15 years or whatever at the top. I mean, doing Raw for a long time, and that's very draining, so I can't blame him. He's been there every single damn week. So, like him or hate him, you got to respect the guy, and if he wants to transition out, that's absolutely fine. The only issue I have is who the hell replaces him. I don't think they have many other good commentators coming through. Certainly in NXT, I mean, Tom Phillips on SmackDown, would they have him? No, I think he sucks. I don't think he's any good. I don't think they've really got any good commentators right now other than Mauro Ranallo. So, and Corey Graves is a colour, but so maybe they bring in Nigel McGuinness, but I can't see them having Nigel McGuinness in there being from the UK. I don't see him getting in that full-time position on Raw. Because, I just feel like they wanted American. They wanted Americans, so, for whatever reason, Americans can't seem to understand the UK accent. I don't know why. I mean, certainly Nigel McGuinness, I can understand some, but Nigel McGuinness is very easy to understand. He speaks very clearly. Accent or no accent, he's very easy to understand. So, he wouldn't be an issue, but, I could just feel like that Vince McMahon would like to see an American on commentary. So that might just leave Nigel McGuinness to do anything that they have involved with the UK belt over there. But anyways, so that's Michael Cole's future. We'll have to wait and see. He might say something on Twitter soon addressing the rumours. We don't know, but we'll find out, I think, pretty soon. And finally, I don't want to spend too much time on this crap. The Randy Orton incident at the gym, with the random fan wanting to take a photo with him. Randy Orton basically told him to fuck off. Look, in my opinion, if you're trying to come up to anyone and say, whilst they're doing something or busy and you're in their face, hey man, can I get a photo? They are well within their rights to say, no, I don't want, no, not right now. And if you go ahead and you take a photo of them anyways, or you'll keep harassing them and they, get angry at you, then that's on you. That's so be it. So I think Randy Orton did absolutely nothing wrong. I've been in a circumstance recently when I saw NXT. I was at the hotel, and every single person on the NXT tour was standing in front of me. Just got off a bus, and before that they just got off the plane, so they just got off an hour trip on the bus, 2-hour flight in the plane, so 3 hours of travelling, just got there, check it into the hotel. Now, would it be right for me to go up to them and say, go up to Samoa Joe standing there waiting to go to his hotel room? Would it be right for me to go up and say, hey, Joe, man, can I get a photo? Or, any one of those guys or girls, would it be right for me? I felt, no, I could have done it. I'm naturally a very shy person, so I probably wouldn't have done it anyways. But I decided right there and then, look, they just got off, they've been traveling, I'll leave them alone. It's not the right time. I'll be respectful. And obviously, I went up to the interview and everything like that I did that day, and I got some photos with a few guys and whatnot. And then when I went back down, and they were all, they've been to their hotels. It's been another hour, and they're kind of lounging around the hotel lobby, just kind of chilling and on their phones or whatever. I could have went up to them right there and then and said, hey, man, can I get a photo? But again, it's like, well, they're just getting ready to do the show. Should I just, should I invade their privacy? I felt like no. In that circumstance, for me, I felt like if I was in their shoes, I wouldn't want to take a photo with some dickhead like me. So I decided, no, I won't. So there's a time and a place to decide whether or not you're going to take a photo or ask someone for an autograph, something like that. You got to be respectful. If you are respectful, then you're more likely to get what you're looking for. If the guy had waited for Randy Orton to finish his workout, Randy Orton's on his way out and said, "Hey, Randy, man, just before you go, I'm a huge fan. I'd love to get a picture with you." If Randy Orton said no, then that's, move on. He said no. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it. But you're more likely to get a yes out of Randy Orton in that circumstance. He might see, okay, this guy, clearly a fan. He went up to me before and I was busy and he's waited around for me. All right, I'll give him a photo. And I'm sure he doesn't care. I'm sure he'd be like, all right, whatever. He probably does it 10 times a day. If he goes out in public, I'm sure he takes dozens of photos all the time. So I'm sure Randy Orton just didn't care. He just wanted to, finish his workout. His workout is involved with his, job. He needs to stay in shape. He needs to work out as a part of his job. So he's technically working right there. Yes, it's working out, but still technically he's at work. So I just think the guy was in the wrong. So I've got no issues with Randy Orton there whatsoever. And I don't know why this has turned into such a big deal anyways. I don't even know why I'm covering it. I just wanted to kind of get into it a little bit. But, yes, we've covered quite a little bit here. And, we've gone a long time. And I didn't even want to spend too much time on that. But the Royal Rumble, that was the main point of my show. When I was going to do the show today, I said, all right, I'm going to do half an hour chatting about the Rumble and then half an hour about everything else. So what I've done is I've done that in reverse. I've done half an hour of half the things I wanted to talk about. And I still haven't talked about the Rumble. So, yeah, shit. But anyways, getting the Royal Rumble. So, Royal Rumble, just a week and a bit away. So, I just wanted to kind of talk about the greatest Royal Rumbles that I've seen personally since I've been a fan. I've been a fan since 2005. I've gone back and watched a lot of the Rumbles. I haven't seen them all, and I definitely think I should. It's one of those things I want to do. I think before I see the Royal Rumble in next week, I might go back and watch every Rumble match. Now, I will say this, my memory when it comes to wrestling is good in some things, in terms of wins and losses, and, what was the main event of this year's pay-per-view, of that year's WrestleMania pay-per-view, for example. But when it comes to specific things that happen in a match, I am very forgetful. When it comes to what was the best match of the year, I have no idea. I can't remember any matches. So I struggle in terms of that, of remembering what was a great match and whatnot, unless it was, very common that everyone, all right, this is fucking awesome, and it sticks out in my mind. But for the most part, my memory sucks. This is why I don't do end-of-year awards or anything like that, or end-of-year recap saying my favorite match of the year, because I can't remember. I have no idea what was the best pay-per-view of the year, because I don't remember. I have no idea, but I have a good memory with a lot of other things, really, you talk about a wrestler, from the 90s or whatever, I probably could, all right, yeah, I remember that guy, he was in this, he did this. But you say, what was the finish to Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels in 94 or whatever? I'd be like, I have fucking no idea. So, who was the last four guys in the Royal Rumble in 97? I don't know. So I have no idea. So a lot of things I tend to forget. So forgive me if I miss out a really good Royal Rumble or whatever, but I just made a couple little notes here, some of the Rumbles and some of the moments that I enjoyed the most. I think personally the greatest Royal Rumble is the 2001 Royal Rumble, the one where Stone Cold won it. I say that because that was a year where there was 6 guys they were building as though could really win it. And did we think there was going to be really, I don't know at the time. I think there was definitely a few guys you could see winning it, but obviously Austin was the heavy favourite, and was the right call in the end. But lots of star power, lots of excitement, plenty to like, really lots to like there. And the final was fantastic. Like I said, my memory's bad, but I know that one was definitely great. And I think that's definitely my favorite. But was that the year that Kane cleared house and eliminated like 12 guys or whatever? I think that was the 2001. It might have been 2000, one of those years. 2000 was pretty good as well. Not as good as 2001. 2003, that was a Rumble that I watched a couple of weeks ago with my friend. He came over to my house and we were flicking on the network. I'm like, what should we watch? And we're just like, you know what? Royal Rumble's always a safe, easy bet that you know you're going to enjoy it. So we checked out 2003, and it was a very, very good Rumble as well. I think, that was the one Brock Lesnar won, I believe. Yeah, I don't know why I'm guessing myself, but yeah, Lesnar won that year. So that was another great Rumble. And those probably 3-4 year period between 2004 and 2000, that was really when WWE was stacked with so many big names. So, we talk about it. What are some of the things that make a Rumble great? It's definitely star power, and it's definitely the mystery of who's going to win it. If you go into a Rumble and think, all right, I have a pretty damn good idea who's going to win, it's predictable. You're not going to enjoy it as much. And we look at the last probably 5 or so years. Last year, who the hell won it last year? Was it? Oh, Triple H won it last year. Sorry. Triple H won it. So I had a pretty good inkling that Triple H might be in it. With the championship on the line, that was a good stipulation to it, but we knew Reigns was probably not going to survive. It was, Reigns was either going to win it or probably Triple H. So it turned out to be Triple H in the end, and I don't think we were all that, hugely surprised. The year before was Roman Reigns. I think we all pretty much knew that was going to happen. Before that, Batista. That was a lock, and we knew that was going to happen. Before that, John Cena. Well, that was a lock. We knew that was going to happen to take on The Rock. We knew that was absolutely going to happen. And before that was Sheamus. Now, I just started watching wrestling when that happened, so I'm not 100% sure if Sheamus was the favorite to win. I know in that match there was not many stars in it, so there wasn't really many guys that could win it. I think Jericho was a possibility. They went with Sheamus, so there was probably a couple guys that you thought maybe. And before that was Alberto Del Rio. Once again, I'm not very sure. So you see the pattern there. The last 4 or 5 Royal Rumbles have been very predictable, and we've had a pretty good idea who's going to win. So what makes a good Royal Rumble is that unpredictable nature of it. And this is why I think this year's Royal Rumble is going to be really strong, because I think there's probably really 3 options that might win it, but I just don't know where they're going to go. Undertaker, is he going to win? He's my pick at the moment, but I really don't know. Goldberg, it depends. Do they want to do Lesnar and Goldberg? Should they have the title involved? I don't know. So there's a lot of things that I just don't. I've really got no idea. I couldn't tell you. I think Undertaker's going to win. I think it's going to be one of those big names. I don't think they're going to swerve, so I don't think it's going to be a big surprise. For example, like Braun Strowman or Baron Corbin or, maybe even Dean Ambrose or something like that. Or I don't think it's going to be a big surprise. It could be even Roman Reigns. He might get a late entry in and do the double duty. It's really up in the air at the moment, which is why I think this Rumble could be very special. So that's one of the things I think Rumbles need. Obviously, star power. And I think Rumbles need some surprises. Need a couple of returns. Even if you throw a legend in there for one night, you just need a few little different things just to get the crowd pumped, get the crowd hyped. And a couple of surprises always work really well. And that's one of the things I think as well that they've lacked as well. I think this year could be another circumstance where they might lack in that. Last year, obviously, having AJ Styles in there was huge. And that was all they needed to do. AJ Styles in there, that's good enough. People are happy. Big debut. Awesome. Fantastic. Probably the highlight of that Rumble. And this year, will we see that? I don't know. Where I see this going is I would say that there's a chance for probably 2 NXT guys to be in the Rumble. What I would do, and I think many of us would love to see it, number 10, who else? Ty Dillinger comes in the Rumble, debuts, number 10 in the crowd. I think even if Dylan's just not in the Rumble, the crowd will be chanting 10, 10, 10, 10. They'll be going nuts when they hear number 10. So why not capitalize on that? Why not capitalize on that and have him come in at 10 and have this big grand moment where the whole arena is chanting 10 and give him a couple eliminations and whatever, and the crowd can just keep on chanting 10. They might even chant 10 every time there's a friggin' number that comes up. Who knows? Number 1 comes out and they'll chant 10. Who knows what the crowd could do? So if he's in there, it would capitalize on the number thing really smartly, really easy to do. It would pop the crowd, it'd be a nice surprise, and would really add to the match. And how hard is it to do it? Is Ty Dillinger, do I see him as a major star? No. But I definitely see him as a mid to upper mid-card guy who could be a fan favorite and really work well. So, is a Royal Rumble debut a waste? I don't think so. I think the Royal Rumble debut is strong. So, he doesn't even have to debut. He could just be in the Rumble and that's it. Forget about it. That's it. He can go back to NXT and come back on the main roster later. He doesn't have to be on the main roster right there the next night. So he's got to be in there. He's got to come in at number 10. The other guy I think could be there is, I think, what everyone seems to think is Samoa Joe. He's time in NXT. We haven't seen him on NXT for a little bit, so we're starting to think, well, are they writing him off TV? They're starting to think about putting him on the main roster. It's a big possibility, and I think it needs to happen. He's kind of done everything there is to do in NXT now, so having him stay in NXT I think would be just a bit of a waste, and I'm sure him being kept down would not be ideal for himself. He's not making as much money as he potentially could be. I would have him come in, and I would have him go to SmackDown and sign with SmackDown. Is he a smoky chance to win the Rumble? Maybe. I mean, that's a big push right from the get-go. I think a lot of people know who Samoa Joe is, but I don't think they'd be confident enough to have someone debut on the main roster and win the Rumble. That's a big, big win. That's a big moment. And that's a bit of a risk. Could have worked, definitely, but that's a big, big call. So I don't think they'd be willing to make that risk, but I definitely think if he is in the Rumble, he'll be in the Final Four. The one thing that I'm trying to think of, like, who can they bring in as a legend? If they're going to bring a legend back, who can they bring in? I just can't think of really anyone. That's a bit of a shame because right now I feel like there's a big chance, like, in the next 5 or 6 years, a lot of these guys, a lot of the Rumbles, we won't see many legends because most of the legends are pretty much done. They're all at that age where they probably can't do it anymore. So there's not really many legends that they could bring in. Big Show is a legend, but obviously not a huge surprise return. I think Big Show will be in there, and I think there's a big chance that Shaq might go in the Royal Rumble as well, and they might kick off that rivalry between Big Show and Shaq at the Royal Rumble. I think if you're going to do that, that is the perfect time to do it because you get Shaq in, he can come in, he can eliminate the Big Show, he can be in there for 5 minutes, or they can even eliminate each other. They get in there and they just slug it out and they throw some punches and then they eliminate each other. But then you start that rivalry, you get that rivalry reaffirmed in everyone's minds again, and it's a good way to introduce Big Show back to TV, and he can start talking about that rivalry, and you start building towards it. So if they're going to do that WrestleMania match, this is the time to start planting the seeds for it. So I think there would be a mistake and a bit of a missed opportunity if they didn't do that. So Big Show and Shaq definitely need to interact at the Rumble. And that's, Shaq didn't play in San Antonio, I believe. I'm 98% sure he didn't play for San Antonio. So would it be that effective? I still think it is. I think Shaq is he's a very common celebrity in America. I think everyone knows who Shaq is. If you don't, well, that's, you live under a rock. But I think everyone knows who Shaq is. So I think, would he get a huge reaction? No, but he'd still get a reaction, and I still think it'd be okay. So, I think Shaq definitely should be in there. And if they're not going to do the WrestleMania match, then don't worry about it, like, obviously, but if they are going to do that WrestleMania match, it's a good time to get him in there without having to, do anything else. Just a quick 5-minute appearance and see you later. But yeah, other guys, look, Kenny Omega, is he going to be in there? I don't think so. And I don't think he should be. A lot of people are hyping Kenny Omega up as this major independent star. And I just don't see him as that. I think AJ Styles is a much bigger deal than Kenny Omega ever has or will be. I don't know it will be, but he definitely, you compare the pair for last year's AJ Styles to Kenny Omega. AJ Styles coming in as a much bigger deal. So I think Kenny Omega, if he's going to come in the WWE, he's got to go through NXT, quite honestly. I don't see him debuting on the main roster straight away. I don't think he's that big of a name to do it. I get it. He had a huge match in Japan recently. But how many people were really talking about Kenny Omega coming to the WWE until that big match? You'd hear the odd comment here and there. Oh, Kenny Omega would be good in WWE. But, obviously now the hype around him is big and they might strike whilst there is some hype. But I still think, yeah, you could have him debut at the Royal Rumble and then go to NXT. But, I don't know. I would rather have someone else get that spot nearly. It would be a great moment, but I wouldn't really care, to be honest, if he was in that Royal Rumble match. I would rather see Bobby Roode in that Royal Rumble or Nakamura in the Royal Rumble. I think that's a huge deal. I think that's fantastic. I think that's way bigger and way better than Kenny Omega, because I really couldn't care less about Kenny Omega. The last guy, perhaps, would be Finn Balor. Now, is Finn Balor working us, saying, hey, I'm not going to be back till WrestleMania? Is it legit, or is he potentially going to be in the Rumble? I guess we'll find out in the Royal Rumble night. But I definitely think at this point in time, he is probably a very slim chance to be in there. If he is in there, if he is in the Royal Rumble, he's winning it, in my opinion. If he shows up, he's winning it. And they'll have him have the big WrestleMania match, perhaps with WrestleMania Owens versus Balor. Finn Balor comes back to get the championship that he never really lost. So I think that would be a perfect WrestleMania storyline, and that would make plenty of sense, and that would be fine. And would it be big enough for a WrestleMania main event? No, but is it big enough for a big marquee WrestleMania match? One for the fans. It doesn't have to be a part-timer in every damn main event, but definitely I think the fans would really like to see Owens and Balor go at it. I think that would be a good, entertaining match. So if he's in it, he'll win, but I don't think he will be. And at the moment, I'm sticking to Undertaker winning because I really have no idea. No idea. I don't know. Which is why I'm looking forward to it. Which is why I think this Rumble is going to be terrific. Will it be up there, one of the greats? Will it be up there with 1992's Royal Rumble, or 2005's Royal Rumble, 2001? I don't know. But I definitely think it's going to be a lot of fun and very interesting to see. I'm hoping it's a great Rumble. I'm hoping there's a few surprises, little twists and turns to keep me on my edge of my seat. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be great. So next week we'll talk about the rest of the Royal Rumble card. And I know I kind of condensed my discussion there. I was going to talk a little bit more about it and go into a bit more of, some of my favorite moments and things like that. But we're kind of running a little bit low on time here. So we'll get through the rest of the topics before we do run out of time. Raw. So this week's Raw was up in the ratings. So the first Raw they did, now that football is not on Monday nights, they're in the playoffs, I believe. I really haven't followed that at all. But they went up a good 300,000 viewers, which is good. So obviously Lesnar was going to be on the show as well. Speaking of Lesnar, he'll be doing a lot more dates between the Rumble and WrestleMania. He'll be there every week, just about. So that's good. So he'll be around a lot more. I hope that, I know that they want to save him for pay-per-views, but I hope he does a Raw match this year. I think it's time that he does a match on Raw. And I think if they want to pop a rating on Raw, that's a decent way to do it. Hype up Lesnar on having a match on Raw for like a month. Treat it as him having a pay-per-view match, but hype it up on Raw. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be cool to see. I think it's time. He hasn't had a match on Raw 5 years. Since he's come back, hasn't had one damn match. Hasn't had a match on Raw in 13, 14 years or something. So it's ridiculous. So I would like to see that happen. So I really enjoyed the start of Raw as well, with Lesnar coming out, clearing house and whatever. I think that was a good way to start Raw. A nice little change of pace. No Foley or Stephanie on the show, which I felt made the show a hell of a lot better. One of the things that I felt as though was a little strange at the show was the finish to Cesaro and Sheamus' match against the Club. So Sheamus hits the referee. The Club pins Sheamus and Cesaro, and they beat Sheamus and Cesaro. So the referee gets back up and says, you know what? I am going to punish the Club. I'm going to reward the guy who hit me by disqualifying him. I get it. That's the first thing that happened. The DQ happened before the pinfall. But if you're the referee and you're pissed off at Sheamus, wouldn't you say, hey, you know what, fuck you, you can lose your titles. You lost this match after you hit me, well, you deserve it. So, and if the club lost, we'll be like, hey, you know what, Sheamus, you hit me, so whatever. So, I don't know. I just felt that was dumb. I just felt that, when I first saw it, I was like, alright, that's okay, but the more I think about it, the less it makes sense. I was going to talk about the problem with Raw and SmackDown, but we might save that for next week or another week. It was just going to talk about, some of the booking issues they've got going on right now. Is there enough stars on the show? Are they building up enough stars? I think they are, but I might save that discussion for another week, and because we're just really running out of time. We've kind of spent a long time talking about everything else. On SmackDown this week, we learned the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view is coming back. I think at this point, my Chamber pay-per-view, my Chamber match, I should say, for the pay-per-view, I'm thinking Cena, Styles, Orton, White, Ambrose, and perhaps Baron Corbin. I think that would be the strongest combination there. But there's probably a good possibility that Orton and White may not be in the Chamber match because they might be doing something else with this rivalry that they're working towards. So there might be a chance they might not be in there. So I was thinking either Dolph Ziggler and The Miz could jump into their place instead. So that's where I kind of see it at the moment. Obviously, maybe if Samoa Joe debuts, he might be around too. Who knows? But or perhaps even Undertaker could show up and go on the Chamber match. So those are some possibilities as well. But this first guys, I would say, would be the strongest Chamber combination they could probably get in terms of star power and who's getting the most momentum right now. So that's my 6, but definitely could change depending on who's available and who's going to be there. Jerry Lawler and Dolph Ziggler's segment. I read all the things on Twitter. Did it go too far? Did this go too far? Was it wrong? No, come on. I thought this segment was great. When I first heard about this going down, I thought, oh my god, what is Jerry Lawler going to do? Who's he going to interview? What could this possibly do? But it was perfect. The way they did this, the way they executed it was fantastic. A great way to build Dolph Ziggler's heel persona. And I ranted last week and saying, oh, Dolph Ziggler is a heel. If you haven't figured that out by now, I mean, you're 3 weeks late if you haven't figured that out. I still saw things on Twitter this week saying, oh, so now Dolph Ziggler's a heel. It's official. He's officially a heel now. Like, dude, he's been a heel for 2-3 weeks. So, can we end this discussion now? Ziggler is a heel. Can we please all agree on that? But anyways, so if you kick a guy in the gut or in the heart who had a heart attack previously, I think that signifies he's a friggin' heel. And by the way, Jerry Lawler, next time please wear a shirt. Why were you shirtless and showing your gut off? I don't know why, but please next time wear a damn shirt. But he came out in his ring attire. I don't know. He was a bit of a throwback to his old look, but come on, Jerry, you're 65, 70 years old. You don't need to do that now. But anyways, good segment. It went down well, and Ziggler's continuing to impress and going so far so good as a heel. The question now is, who does he feud with? Is it just going to, drag it out to the Royal Rumble, and then they'll decide where he goes next after that? Maybe. But I'm enjoying it so far. Finally, on SmackDown, Mickie James returning, announced as La Luchadora. So, we heard a lot of rumors this week that it probably was going to happen. I'm going to end up being her, so I wasn't exactly surprised. And you could tell as soon as La Luchadora came out that it was her, and then obviously the kick that she delivered as well. She didn't, it was pretty obvious in the end. When she revealed, we're like, all right, okay. I found it funny that last week the woman playing it, someone in NXT, I forget her name, but her skin was obviously clearly a lot darker than Mickie James, so it was very obvious that it was someone different this week, and the height difference as well. I think, I don't know, maybe not a lot of height difference, but just a body shape difference as well. So a lot of difference between the two, clearly. But anyways, I'm not going to shit on it. Alexa Bliss and Mickie James, that'll be an interesting combination. Bring in Mickie James as a heel. I mean, I probably wouldn't have done that, but, we'll see. Will the crowd be negative towards her? I don't think she got a big reaction, so maybe a lot of the crowd probably don't know who the hell she is, which is kind of sad, but, we'll see. We'll see how she, goes in a better market, what kind of reaction she gets. And a veteran working with a young up-and-coming woman in the division is a good thing. That's what she should be doing. She should be working with some younger talents, helping them get her over. So I think that's a good call, and I think this is a start of something good. And it's a good way to bring back Mickie James. She deserves to be back. Hopefully she gets a couple of years under the belt before she's all said and done. And maybe even another title reign in there, or, a couple more big headline matches just to solidify herself as a Hall of Famer. I think Becky Lynch and Mickie James would be cool to see at the Royal Rumble. But I think at this point, we've already got Jackson versus Sasha and Bayley versus Charlotte. Are those two matches confirmed? So that would mean 3 women matches. That might be overkill, so we might not see it. Maybe we'll see it at the Elimination Chamber instead. Maybe that's a good idea. Wait till the Chamber. Don't give it away at the Rumble. You don't really need to. Help build up the SmackDown pay-per-view by doing that. Maybe. Alright, so that's pretty much all I have for that discussion and all the things to do with wrestling this week. Couple more questions to go. But I want to talk about what I've been gaming. What I've been doing this week in terms of the gaming. Look, I'm in between games. I'm in the point where I had probably 3 weeks where I'm non-stop smashing games. I finished 5-6 games. I'm on fire. I'm killing it. Now here I am. I don't know what to play. I'm at the point where I need to start a new game, but I just have no motivation to do it. And I play a bit of Mafia 3. I'm slowly getting into it, but it's taken a while. I just played it here and there. I'm just not feeling it yet. So I'm at a point where I'm just struggling a little bit. But what I did decide to do, and what I have been doing religiously for the last 24 hours, is TW16. Now, if you're not aware, Total Extreme Wrestling 2016 is a booking simulator game available on PC. Now, basically, you take control of the company. For example, right now, I've started a WCW save file, where it's WCW just after, March 2001. Instead of them going out of business, I buy them, or, in my playthrough, Eric Bischoff buys WCW, and they survive. So now I'm rebuilding WCW, and I'm trying to figure out how the hell can I make this show good. WCW's roster is absolutely dreadful. So I'm signing all CM Punk, Bobby Roode, John Cena, all these guys who are going to be stars of tomorrow. I've got them all in my developmental, but then I'm left with absolutely no one on my main roster. I think I got Rob Van Dam, who was on the sideline, and I was like, wow, this is huge. I got RVD, I got a huge pickup. But then I look at his stats, and he's not very popular or anything like that at all. So I'm slowly starting to build some of these guys up, and I brought in Mr. Perfect, veteran and whatever. I don't know, whatever. But I'm having a lot of fun doing that. If you haven't played that game before, you got to check it out. It does cost money, but there is a free version of a game very similar. Probably a bare bones version in comparison, called EWR Extreme Warfare Revenge. And if you are interested, check that out. And you need to get some mods though. You need to download some mods and download some custom rosters, so you have all the official names and photos, and makes your experience so much better. Trust me. So if you're going to get it, get some mods. But it's a game that you can lose your life. I mean, you can play it all day and just go, oh shit, where did the time go? But it's a game that I play in 2-week periods. I'll play it for 2 weeks non-stop, then I won't play it again for 6 months. Because I guess I just get everywhere I want, do everything I want to do. I get so far, and I just kind of, done. So that's my issue. Maybe I played too much. Maybe I need to space it out and keep going with it. This time I really want to stay committed to this WCW playthrough and try and get WCW out of the hole. I'm not doing badly at all. I've got plenty of money, and my ratings are going up, so I'm doing fine. But I'm just waiting for some WWF guys to go off contract so I can poach them and bring them to my roster. I'm looking at The Rock and Austin and Stone, Undertaker, I should say, all these guys. I'm waiting for them to go off contract so I can sign them. But anyways, that's what I've been playing. I'm going to probably play it as soon as I finish this podcast. I'm really into it right now, and I highly recommend it. Not sponsored, just recommend a good game. A couple of questions before we get out of here as well, so let's get straight into them and we'll call it a show. This one comes from Cash Mala Phase. Do you plan on becoming a wrestling commentator? Now, I've answered this before, but we'll go it again. No, I don't plan on becoming a wrestling commentator. I had a dream when I was very younger. I had a dream, yeah. I aspired to be a commentator, a sports commentator. That was one of my dream jobs, and I would say it still kind of is. A dream job of mine was always to be a sports commentator, specifically either cricket or rugby league. Those are my two favourite sports. I always imagine myself commentating one of those two sports. Never imagined myself being a wrestling commentator, and I never thought I would be. I just kind of fell into it. When I started Brendan Plays 4 years ago, I just started, chatting over it. I knew I could commentate. I kind of always knew I could do it. So when I started doing it, I'm like, I can do this. I'm confident I can do it. And was I bad? I don't think I was terrible, but I wasn't great. Am I better now? I definitely think so. I want to hope so. So I think I'm okay. I mean, I'm not saying I'm amazing. I'm not saying I could be in the WWE. Or they should sign me, because I know they wouldn't anyways. Being Australian would pretty much instantly rule me out of having any chance of being able to do it unless they bring out a WWE Australia, which, you never know, could happen one day. But, look, I have no plans of doing it, but to say if WWE called me tomorrow and said, hey, we want you to be a commentator for WWE, would I say no? Absolutely not. I would do it in a heartbeat, but I have no aspiring plans to ever do it. I just do this for fun, and I guess my desire to do any commentating, I get that through my YouTube channel. So now that I've kind of been there, done that, I'm satisfied, and I've been able to have that experience, I've been able to fulfill that dream through my YouTube channel, which has been awesome. So no desire, but if the opportunity ever came, I would very much so consider it, because I really do enjoy doing it. This one's coming from Happy Harry Hardon. Jeez, what a name. Have you ever seen the movie Ready to Rumble? And if you have, what are your thoughts on it? No, I haven't seen it, but it's on my to-watch list. I know it's an absolute fucking train wreck of a disaster of a movie, but it's a wrestling movie. I should watch it. I have seen some clips of it, and I know that it's pretty crappy, but it is on my to-watch list. And now that I think of it, I should watch that, because I've been watching a lot of really shitty comedy movies, because I like those types of movies. Just goofy, shitty comedy movies that are so easy to watch. I like those type of movies, and this movie would be exactly like that. And hey, it's a wrestling movie, I'd probably like it even more, so maybe I should watch that. So, no, I haven't watched it, but maybe I will watch it this week, and I'll get back to you next week about it if I do remember, and I will talk about it. Final question today comes from Johnny Dixon. Which wrestler on the current roster do you see as a possible great future great commentator? So a couple of commentary questions this week. Look, I'm really enjoying Austin Aries as a commentator. I think he could definitely do it. Just anyone who's a good talker. Kevin Owens, I think, would be a terrific heel commentator. Even Chris Jericho could do it. I don't think he ever would, but he could probably do it. Just trying to think of some other guys. Who's a really good talker? I think Daniel Bryan, when I heard him do commentary in the Cruiserweight Classic, I think he's a guy who definitely should think about doing more. I think he's quite talented. And I was thinking that because I was thinking of Sami Zayn. He's someone who I could see maybe doing a little bit of it too. And, more certainly as a babyface type of commentator. So those are a few names, but, just anyone who can really talk generally makes a good commentator. Look at Paul Heyman, he can talk the house down, and, someone who can just, has the gift of gab can do it. So definitely some guys like Kevin Owens, for example, would be, I think, a really good heel commentator. But that's pretty much all we have for you in this week's edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. We had NXT TakeOver on the weekend. If you haven't already seen it, make sure you do. It all went pretty well. To be honest, I wasn't really that active in the chat when everything was going down. I was kind of doing my own thing. I don't know, I thought the show was good, but I knew it wasn't, I knew the main event was absolutely off the chains. I knew that was, so good. But I knew the rest of the show, it could either be hit or miss with some people. Some people might really enjoy it, some people might not really care for it. So I saved myself the headache of reading negative comments by just not looking at it this time. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I still get nervous when I look at a video's comments. I click on a video that, I think is good, but I'm not sure. And I look at the reception. I still get nervous because I do get a lot of negative comments. You know, every couple comments, every video is like, "Hey, why did you do this? You know, you shouldn't have done this." You know, I get that all the time, but you know, so I still get some nerves. And certainly at a pay-per-view, you get, you know, instant reactions on what people think of the pay-per-view. So it can be really, really awesome to see, or it can be really draining. I saw a lot of people being like, this is boring, this just sucks. So when I see some of those, I kind of dip out and just save myself the headache. But anyways, that went well. We are starting to build towards Payback as well. We kind of probably... It's not next weekend, the weekend after, I would say. And by the way, my interview, that's going to be happening next week. That was postponed, so if you are wondering, that did not happen. That'll be next week. So that's definitely next week, so I'll let you know how that goes. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of the podcast. And make sure you leave a like on the video and hit that subscribe button, whether you're on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you're watching. Subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Leave a question for next week's episode. I forgot to do the Facebook page this week. I will not forget next week. I need to kind of set a reminder or set some kind of automatic post so I never forget, because it's annoying, because that's where I get all my best questions and I keep forgetting. So if you can, leave me a question either in the YouTube comment section, over at the forums at betterplace.com/forums. It's free to join, or on the Facebook page when it comes out. The post comes out next week. So thank you so much for listening in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next week.